Everybody comes in, your grandmother, your father, your mother, your brother, your cousins. They come in so easily, so crazy, so crazy.
Get your words straight, Jack.
And then they have cans of soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent. This is soup from my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground and the anarchists take it and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick because it's got force. It's the perfect size. It's like made perfect. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup from my family. And then the media says, this is just soup. These people are very, very innocent. They're innocent people.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the goal. You know the thing.
And he's like this, and we will, I need water, help me, I need water, help.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in and pull and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Dumb people, liberal people. Everybody comes in, your grandmother, your $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico. Then I have an article too, where I have the right to do whatever I want as president, but I don't even talk about that.
They felt pretty comfortable after day 2. They felt pretty comfortable after day 2.
I liked beer. I still like beer. But I did not drink beer to the point of blacking out.
They had a very bad original concept. It was carried out poorly, and the cover-up was one of the worst in the history of cover-ups. Very simple. Bad deal, should have never been thought of. Somebody really messed up, and they had the worst cover-up ever. And where it should have stopped is at the deal standpoint when they thought about it, because whoever thought of that idea, is in big trouble. And then they have cans of soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent. This is soup from my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground and the anarchists take it and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick because it's got force. It's the perfect size. It's like made perfect. And when they get caught, they say, say, no, this is just soup for my family. And then the media says, this is just soup. These people are very, very innocent. They're innocent people.
Retweet. That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves. I don't take a position.
Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know.
And I have a simple proposition here. I'm here to ask you for your help. Where I come from, you don't get far unless you ask. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, both the other by. Give me a look, though.
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting, pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon.
Yo, I fucking hate cops.
As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room. And then they have cans of soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent.
In person, in my office, in Philadelphia.
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting, pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. Blanket, fry them like bacon. 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 Fry them like bacon.
That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves. I don't take a position.
And then they have cans of soup.
Hello, users, and welcome to another episode of Above It All. How's it going, folks? So my voice is fucked up, and my body hurts, and so, that's what's gonna happen here. So hopefully everyone is having a decent time. Hopefully everyone's having a decent time as of this current moment. I need to drink some motherfucking coffee. Let me just goddamn. Oh Lord, have mercy. So yesterday was a little bit crazy. It was a little bit wild. It was, something that, it was a little bit crazy. I want to say that I was not out after curfew, but I was down the street, and so I could still see some of the action going on. I was staying at someone's house who was down the street. And so I could see, like, a bunch of shit going on, and I'll get into that very soon. But last night was very scary, very bizarre, very interesting, and I have a lot to say from my perspective. And so my foot fucking hurts, man. My foot also is super itchy, and it's got, like, I've got, like, a mosquito bite on my foot, and I'm gonna cry. And it's like, why am I dealing with that? You know what I mean? Like what? Why is there a mosquito bite on my foot? What's happening here? Like, how does that happen? Like, I'm just trying to walk around town. Like, I'm just trying to get to where I need to go, and a mosquito bites my foot, and it's like, how does that happen? And now I have to deal with this for a totally unnecessary period of time, and now it's like, this is just going to be my life now, and it's like, it's just such a situation that I'm dealing with right now. My Converse are just fine for walking 15 hours a day, motherfucker. I'll walk 20 miles a day, and I'll be fine. Maxie! 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 We have Max the dog here, folks. Max the dog missed me. Maxie! Hello! Hello! It's the doggy. You can't see him, but he's there. It's the doggy. Hello. Yo, we got a dumb motherfucker in the chat room. So this is the power of the Marxists. Da 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 da. And what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, my God, man, this motherfucker talking like a fucking video game character in this chat room right now. I got home last night. I got home at like around midnight, 1 a.m. So yeah, so basically the situation was I was at someone else's house until the curfew was basically over. And then, you know, there's a bunch of traffic, and then that's when I was able to get home. But I couldn't walk home in that kind of scenario, right? Because I'm not walking home with, like, you know, totally legal substances all over me and, you know, inside of me. And, you know, I'm not walking, like, a mile home. Man, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I didn't. So I got home at around 1 a.m. Look at him. He's just so beautiful. Oh, my God. Oh, now he's upside down. Look at that. Look at this dog. Look at the doggy. Look at the doggy. Look at the dog. Yeah, I apologize for not updating my Twitter with my whereabouts. But I also, you have to understand, that also, like, I didn't want people to know where I was necessarily, you know? So, like, I was, you know, I like to be purposefully vague with my location. Like, when it comes to, like, posting protest clips, I usually wait, like, 5 to 10 minutes before posting stuff. Just so it's not, like, you know, FBI, look at this Twitter feed. Here's the live whereabouts. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I've got the legal people's phone numbers on my arm. It is a glass table, yes. I don't think that was under any contention. But yes, I have a glass table. Yo, this motherfucking mosquito bite on my foot, man. Oh, look at this dog. What am I supposed to do with this dog? This dog's gonna make me fucking cry? This dog is going to make me cry. I'm going to cry live on stream. Alright, folks. So yeah, today's show is going to be like yesterday's, where it's going to be like as short as possible. You know, not because I hate everyone, but because I hate everyone. So, like, I really just hate all of you. Like, I just hope you all die. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, so, there's been a lot of, like, new shit going out about this story. I have not been feeling the need to attend and cover the press conferences. So I'm just getting the information from the press conferences, on the ground as I get there. So I don't know exactly what's being shown in the press conferences. If someone wants to go watch the press conferences, you can go do that. Like, that's an option. Like, that's not, like, that's an option. You can go over there and you can go watch those pressers, and that's fine. But that's not where I'm at right now. So that's kind of the situation. So I'd like to cover my perspective of the protests from yesterday. And then I've got, Status Quo's, video that I'm going to play, because I was not out after curfew. I was down the street, and so, like, I've got my own perspective that I wish I would have filmed more of, but it was, like, really hard to film, because it was just, like, cop cars going by in, like, 3 seconds, and it's, like, you have to be, like, ready with the camera out, you know what I mean? You have to be, like, ready with the camera out if you're gonna get any footage of that shit. So, but yeah. I would recommend for sure if you're trying to keep posted with me. Status Quo's doing good footage, and you know, I have to go give him something later today, so I will be running into him at some point later today. And so if you want to see me pop up on their stream, basically as soon as I turn the show off, I'm gonna edit everything and leave the house. So there you go. You can see what kind of cartoon character getup I'm wearing today. I don't like, I stopped like any form of, like, I have to do laundry again. Like, it's a little bit of a disaster. But yeah, I really enjoy the camera guy from Status Quo there. John, he's pretty cool. And hopefully I'll get a chance to talk to him more. But we'll see. 7 people stood in place in the public street with their hands up. The police line slowly moved toward them and arrested them completely nonviolent. It was a disaster last night. It was a fucking disaster. I saw some people that I know like get arrested on television, and you know, it's a disaster. It's not good. And I hope that they're okay. Truly, I do. My fucking, I've got this mosquito bite, man. And like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a bitch right now. But, like, I know once I start walking and once I start, like, getting into, like, the zone, this mosquito bite's gonna not be in existence anymore. Right? I'm just not gonna feel it anymore. But, like, until that moment, while I'm sitting here, oh my god, man, I've got a mosquito bite. And it's, like, it's a huge problem. It's a huge fucking problem. But yes, the major details has been, of course, Andrew was murdered with a gunshot to the back of the head and several other gunshots to the arm, I believe. I think this also came out yesterday, the footage from the Elizabeth City Council. I think that also came out today, showing some of the police, and yes, that not today, but yesterday. I'm so sorry. I just want to say, when you've been protesting for 7 days straight, like, I really just, like, my brain is fried. I don't know which day is which. Everything runs together, and it's, like, one big, long fever dream. And so, like, I will not be fully processing which day's events are which up until, like, a week after this all stops, and I don't know when that will be. And so, I'm just letting y'all know that. But anyway, I'm going to cover this because this is some crazy shit. So the attorney for Andrew Brown's family, Ben Crump, released this to his Twitter page. And this is how I saw it. People in the crowd were talking about it yesterday. And so this is from the Elizabeth City Council. This is apparently like just like a regular camera. And it caught a little bit of the police going to serve what they told us was a search warrant, which we now know is an arrest warrant. But this is how they went to go arrest Mr. Andrew Brown, as you can see. Now, for whatever reason, the footage is really bizarre. But as you can see, they've got a truck, and they're on the truck with guns loaded. As you can see. As you can see, they are on the back of a truck, guns loaded and ready. And this is how they go down the street to go serve a warrant. And so that's really the only footage that we have. And it shows them like at the very edge of the camera here. But as you can see, the blatant disregard, and disrespect that this shows, and I want to scroll back here. Like, they've got a sheriff's truck. Now, I want to remind everyone that the Pasquotank County Sheriff has been nowhere to be found in Elizabeth City for the last week. Until yesterday. Then, and this is like, and again, I'll get into this later, but from my vantage point, I saw a shitload of Pasquotank County Sheriff police cars. But they have been nowhere to be found for the last week. So, Like, they come into Elizabeth City looking like this, looking like a literal, like, Al-Qaeda, like, tier fucking white supremacist neo-Nazi gang, riding on top of fucking trucks, probably with Nazi tattoos and thin blue line patches, right? These motherfuckers are rolling through my neighborhood, right, looking like fucking, like seriously, like some sort of fucking foreign combatants, right? And then they just disappear. They murder someone in my neighborhood, and they disappear, and they're nowhere to be found, and then they just drop off the face of the planet. It's like they never existed. These motherfuckers are sitting at home, watching Netflix, looking at the news, and laughing at, like, us being the protesters. And they're just sitting at home, watching Netflix, eating gummy bears, probably smoking some weed, and just fucking chilling, right? Right now, while being paid to do so. While being paid to do so. And so I want to make it very clear that is unacceptable. And so I want to make it also very clear that the protesters in Elizabeth City are not going to stop until every single one of these people that had anything to do with this truck, this convoy, right, of gang members that came into my neighborhood is dealt with. And the only way that's going to happen is if they be sent to prison for the rest of their lives. And anything short of that, these protests are not going to stop, right? These protests are not going to get smaller. They're not going to get quieter. And so, and that needs to be understood. This is and I want to be very serious when I say this. Like, I'm not making a joke here. This is a white supremacist terrorist organization that is funded with our tax dollars. This is a white supremacist terrorist organization that roams through the streets of American cities looking for black people to massacre for fun. It's a game to them. They see the little bingo board. They see a black man on the bingo board. They get their guns. They get giddy. They take their drugs and they go on the fucking truck and they get ready to kill. That is what these people do. This is legalized, like KKK tier slaughtering and assassinating, right? That's what this is. There is no difference just because they are taxpayer funded. There is no difference because they've got the, oh, look, their car says sheriff. I could put cocksucker on my car. Does that make it legitimate if I run down the street with a gun and start murdering people? No, it doesn't. Writing fucking stupid drawings on your car doesn't make you a more moral person than anyone else. It doesn't make it okay when you murder someone because you drew like a fucking cave dweller on your fucking vehicle, you dumb motherfucker. Just because you have a little chip of metal tied to your fucking vest doesn't mean it's okay when you murder another human being. So I just wanted to be very clear about that. That I do not respect the police in any capacity. These people are murderers. They're gangsters, they're criminals, and they need to be brought to heel. Right now, I don't believe in the death penalty, but I believe in anything short of the death penalty for these motherfuckers. Life in prison, right? So, I mean, honestly, like, really, like, force them to read, like, you know, like, give them no options, force them to read books, like, on chemistry or something, like, you know, make these people spend the rest of their lives, like, you know, doing something that's not involved with any of us, man. I'm sorry, I'm a little tired, but I can't think of analogies too well. But like, these motherfuckers are crazy, and again, they really need to go away. And so that's what we're protesting here for. That shit is fucking crazy. And when people heard about this in the crowd yesterday, I mean, it just energized us. It just like, this is, you know, we got to stick together, and we can't stop protesting. So protesting is not going to cease. Yeah, so that's the idea. Yo, my hair is like all kinds of fucked up. Like, my hair is just all kinds of fucked up. I literally just want to hang with my dog. Like, my dog is depressed. My dog is like, where are you? When I come home. My dog is crying. When I open the door, Max the dog is like there's like a puddle surrounding him, and it's definitely not pee because I've smelled it. He's been crying. I'm just kidding. Do dogs even cry? I don't know if they do. Like with tears? I'm not sure. But my doggy has been crying. Oh my god. Andrea say that's praxis with the vocal fry. All right. That's praxis. There you go. There were plenty of dogs at the protest. I was petting them. Why there is not more protester. We live in a small town, Felix. The town has about 18,000 people. And, you know, we also live in a southern town, so a lot of them are Trumpers, right? So, like, at least half of them are Trumpers, which leaves about maybe 6,000, let's, be a little, reasonable here, about 6,000 people that automatically aren't thrown out the fucking window, like, thrown out into the river as far as, like, usability is concerned. So we've got, like, maybe 6,000 people maximum we can pull from, and then you gotta figure, like, a significant amount of those motherfuckers are, like, old, disabled, like, children, like, people that can't go out and protest every day, right? So you know what I mean? So, like, we're not in a situation where we have, like, we're not in a major city where we can get millions of people into the street. So, like, that's kind of what's going on. Confirmation: the sheriff has asked the court to release the video. Of course they have. They're doing everything. They know what they're doing. Oh no, we're asking for the video just like you guys. I mean, protests are out of town. There are a bunch of people coming in from out of town. Yeah, so. All right, let's get into the recap segment here. I'm gonna grab that. I'm gonna grab this. I'm doing a whole operation here, folks. Yeah, Status Quo is streaming the press conference. If you want to go watch a press conference, feel free to go watch them. I will try to be... One sec. I will try to be out there. They are doing a march to the location of the shooting. And so I plan on meeting up with them at that point because the location of the shooting is by my house. So I might, like, and so I gotta, like, do the show. I gotta edit things, right? So it's like by the time that they get to, like, around my house, like, I'll be able to, like, just run outside and catch up with them. So that's like, and they might be a little bit late, and that's fine. But that's where I'm gonna catch up. I'll hopefully catch up with them around noon. And so that's where I'm gonna, be on the ground. Hello, Rielon. Goodbye, Rielon. Okay, I'm going bye. Bye-bye. People have been driving in, Felix, for sure. I mean, I've been there. I've met a lot of people from out of town. So, I mean, I can tell you that, yes, people have done that. The new Black Panther people did show up yesterday. Some of them were a little bit agitatory, but to my understanding, most of them just kind of, like, stood down and took their... and understood, like, people don't want to escalate necessarily at this point. I mean, like, look at what happened last night. If we would have had a situation where there was any hint of, and I'll say this in this segment. Okay, so we had day 7 of the protests in Elizabeth City for justice for Andrew Brown, who was murdered, just in cold blood by a truck full of white supremacist gangsters, also known as the Sheriff's Department of Pasquotank County. And so I arrive at the public safety building sometime around noon. And, a lot of the protest actions don't get a little bit hefty until like around 5-ish. So I arrive, and so at this point we just block a bridge because that's what we do now. We just block bridges. And so that's what we do. And so we're spreading out at the bridge. It's being occupied. And so we walk from the bridge somewhere else. And then we walk, I'm not trying to be like, skimmy, but like we're just walking down the street. Like, I don't know how many details you need. for me to transmit the information of us walking down the street. Good chat question. Any Trump idiots driving around menacing? Yes, there's a fucking shitload. There's a shitload. Again, I want to remind everyone, this is a southern town. About 50% of the people that live in this city voted for that motherfucker. About 80% of cops voted for that motherfucker. So yes, we've got Trumpers. We had some people with like Trump Pence bumper stickers, like kind of like driving down, beeping at us, like screaming their middle fingers, calling us fucking monkeys or whatever, which is, you know, just, that's a whole nother can of worms, right? And like, these motherfuckers are crazy. They're crazy. They're out of control, and they're everywhere. Like, we've had like almost every single day interactions with Trumpers, and to be honest, I just stopped mentioning them because they've been so normalized. Like, yes, they are going to be Trumpers. They're going to be some motherfuckers. And you know, and that's just the way that it is. A lot of local businesses are boarding up and, you know, talking about my camera. Like, we had, like, there's this local business that had boards up, right? And then there's, like, a fucking paper with Sharpie written. It's like, we have 2 cameras here. And it's like, okay. I'm like, all right. You know, it's like, thank you for that. So, like, yes, we've got a lot of the typical, like, boomers who think that the black people are running through the streets, rioting and looting. Nothing like that is even remotely happening. But that's what they think because they're in a fantasy world, and there's really no, like, going outside, like, stepping outside of their home. Like, because it's not like it's down, it's not like it's in another state. It's not like it's in another city. It's literally outside of their house, right? So if it's, like, comparing looking at Facebook for information or stepping outside for 3 seconds, right, the Trumpers, they can't do that. They can't step outside for 3 seconds. They got to get their information from Facebook. And so that's creating, like, this bizarre worldview. I am not going to bog down this segment with Bodan's just disgusting and horrible and evil statement, and I'll get into that later. But Bodan, Jesus motherfucking Christ, man. Anyway, so after this moment, we marched through the streets of some of, again, the wealthier neighborhoods. Not the, like, wealthiest neighborhoods, but, you know, we got a destination here. And this is pretty interesting because, like, there's a lot of people on the porches, and I'll put some audio on. Right? I'm in, like, the back of the crowd, so, like, the chants are not that loud back here. And that's something we gotta work on. But, you know, a lot of people are, like, looking at us from the porches. Like, you can see there's, like, some white people, like, with their cameras out, like, kind of, like, treating us like fucking cartoon characters. And then you got, like, some, you know, regular people that are normal, like, coming out, like, jumping over the little fucking whatever, the railing on their porch and just, like, coming out to march with us, which is pretty cool. And so that's one of the fun parts about going, like, in a small town such as this, right? Is we're just going through these residential neighborhoods and we're screaming, get out of your house and get into the street. And then people are like, oh shit, I'm going to get out of the house and get into the street, right? And so we're like, you know, and that's one of the things that's beautiful about this is we just are going through these neighborhoods, picking up more people. The protest group is getting louder and louder and louder. It's getting more and more and more people. And it's just, it's a win-win. And sure, yeah. And again, the people that aren't going to get out of their house, right, those are the people that we want to be very upset, right? So, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, option 1, we get people out of their house and in the street. Option 2, the people who don't want to get out of the house and in the street cry like little babies in their house, thinking that the black people are running and rioting and looting through the street. Because that's what they think, right? Like, these motherfuckers, like, we have people in the crowd, like, they're on Facebook, like we have people in the crowd that, like, will read boomer comments, like, live in the crowd. It's like, Karen on Facebook just said this from inside a house in this street, right? It's like, oh, they're, like, you know, like, and that kind of stuff. And so, like, these people genuinely think that, like, there's, like, Molotov cocktails being thrown, and, like, they're just afraid to not even go out of their house, but to look out of their window. They're that afraid of peaceful protesters that they're afraid to open their goddamn curtain and look out their goddamn window. It's a shame, man. It's a shame that people live like this. And so here's the situation where an ambulance needs to cross by an occupied intersection, so everyone gets out of the way. And, I wanted to, you know, highlight this segment here because, again, a lot of the boomer Karens are like, oh, what if an ambulance needs to go through? They're just going to let the ambulance, they're going to let people on the ambulance die because of their protest. No, we just get out of the way for an ambulance rolls up and we all get out of the way, right? And so, like, that's what you need to understand. Is that, like, you know, why would protesters block an emergency vehicle? It doesn't make any sense, right? So, like, I just wanted to make sure that that was filmed, documented. Everyone got out of the way. And then, as you can see, everyone starts reoccupying the street as soon as the emergency vehicle is not there anymore. And so then again, we start marching down this street. We start marching back down to that motherfucking bridge. And again, I want to remind everyone, the bridge, right? I want to remind everyone that motherfucking bridge is like, you might think it's not that important, right? But it is, the only detour for that bridge is a 30-minute detour, right? And so when I went to like the other side of the bridge at one point, I was gonna get footage, but like I was like so in the zone, I forgot that I had a camera that I get footage for. And so like I went over there, there's like 18 wheelers, man, there's like truck after truck after truck, and I understand these motherfuckers are just trying to get to their job, they're trying to get, I understand that, and I empathize with them, but I also empathize with the family who has to deal with their father being shot down by a fucking gang right in their neighborhood, right? So like, you know, like you got to get to work to drop off your bananas versus someone like down the street from me being shot and killed by a gang. You know, I'm a little bit more concerned with one of those things. So, but like, you know, they were there. To my understanding, there was also protesters in other groups. This is another thing, is that protesters have been like splitting up into different groups. And I'm just running with a group that has the most people that I recognize from, you know, the first day, the second day, and that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of where I'm sticking. I'm sticking with some of the people that I have more of the recognizable faces, because again, I am a resident of this city. I'm not just here for like epic footage. I'm not just here to cause a ruckus, which I am also here for, but I'm first and foremost prioritizing that I'm a member of the community. So I try to stick with the people that I know the best. And so, but there were people blocking other major intersections, to my understanding. And again, we live relatively close to the North Carolina-Virginia border. And to my understanding, traffic on some areas was blocked up all the way up until Virginia. So people were like, really, like, we are causing a big stink. And it's great, and I love it. And so around 7:30 is where I get this video of police. I just have the audio. Like, you can kind of hear it. It's more easier to hear in person because, like, the way frequencies work, right? It fucking gets to the bottom of your neck or something. Right, but, like, they're on the loudspeaker saying that if you don't, like, leave by 8, you're going to be subject to arrest. And so I, you know, am with people that were, like, has a house, like, down the street. And so basically we tell people that if shit gets crazy, you know, you can come by this address and, like, we got you. And so we're down the house. And so, like, around 8, I start to, like, you know, look at the perimeter. There's a bunch of cops forming. You know, like, right, I want to be very clear. So the bridge is on the left in this clip here, right? And then there's the main street there, and then the main street there, right? And then there's, like, this grassy knoll, and then there's, like, a parking lot, right? And so cops started coming up on this side, and a lot of people were not aware of that. Now, to my understanding, and I do have some of the status quo footage because they stayed there the whole night. But from my understanding, the cops never went through this section. But as you can see, they had like vans and stuff like getting ready to park out here. And so that was where I ended my coverage for the night. And I'm going to get into the status quo outlook because again, as a trans person, I don't want to be arrested. And I'm going to say that right now. I don't want to be arrested as a trans person in a southern state, like just plain and simple. And I didn't want to be in a position where I could have been arrested. So I took a safe option. And so I just wanted to say that, like, everyone who did stay out late, amazing. Like, you know, beautiful, brilliant people. And I'm going to get into some of this footage here. Amazing and brilliant and absolutely wonderful people. And I love all of them. And so status quo was there the whole time. So I was like, you know, constantly trying to, like, you know, get updates. And as you can see here, if you just scroll through, these motherfuckers were like lined up like fucking cartoon characters, like doing this like move up bullshit. We're like, okay, now I just want to, okay, you're a human being. Now everyone, like, just close your eyes. Thought like time here. You're a human being, right? Now imagine someone gives you a stick, and tells you to, like, say move up in a choreographed fashion, right, like a cartoon character, while skipping. Like, imagine, right, okay, now you're thinking, I'm thinking, are there drugs involved? Like, because if there's drugs involved, right, like, I'm down. Like, okay, give me the drugs, let's do this, right? But these motherfuckers are like, okay, no, we're serious. We have sticks, and we do, like, dances, you know? And so they stand here threateningly. I mean, I guess they were there for like an hour beforehand as well, yeah. So they like start marching up menacingly. They arrest a couple people who were standing there, or sitting there rather. I think that's around this section. And of course, I highly recommend going to watch this whole video from Status Coup. They arrest some people sitting there, and then they kind of leave at some point. And I want to show that part. Yeah, this part here. Like, imagine doing this. Like, imagine doing this, right? Imagine, like, okay, like, bear with me here. So you're a human being, right? You've been alive for, let's say, an average of 30 years, right? You've been alive for 30 years. And someone gives you a stick and tells you to do this. Like, I'm throwing that, like, I'm just like okay, like, I know. But, like, okay, so they give you a stick. And they give you, like, a costume, like a Halloween costume. Like, you put your little Halloween costume on. And they say, all right, you're going to skip. Right? And you're going to, like, skip like a fuck, like, skip to the loo, my darling, with a stick. And you're going to say, move back. In unison. Like, it's choir. And then all these, like, macho motherfuckers are like, yes, sir. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? Right? And so, and there's a point. Like, again, imagine doing that. Like, imagine doing that. Yeah. And imagine, like, I don't want to, like, you know, be that person. But, like, what's with all, like, the female cops that are doing all that shit? What's with all the female cops that, like, have their big stick and go, like, you know, move back? Like, what are you doing? Like, if you listen carefully, you see, like, the women try to do, like, the deep voice, like, who are you trying to impress? Like, and then, of course, like, what's going on with the non-white cops? Like, what are you doing right now? You're a non-white riot cop? What? And so, and that's a good point in the chat, is these riot police, again, there was a riot last night. It was the police. The police got their rioting and looting gear. They got their big sticks. They got their guns. And they were rioting and looting through our streets. What were they looting? They were stealing people from us. They were literally kidnapping people on international television. Now, I want to remind everyone, I do not respect authority. Strip away all the notions of, like, oh, they've got a badge. Oh, they can arrest. No, strip away all that garbage. If a group of people in Halloween costumes with big sticks and guns came into your city and just stole people from a crowd, you don't know where they are, and put them into a truck and drove away, what would you think? If there were any situation where this is not the police, what would you think? You would think, oh shit. That's what you would think. And that's what you should think, because who knows where the fuck, like, those people are right now. And I want to be very clear about that. And again, the makeup of these riot police, these are outside agitators, right? Some of them are Pasquotank County Sheriff, but some of them are police departments from Virginia. Some of them are police departments on the border of North Carolina, not in the border of North Carolina and Virginia, the border of North Carolina and South Carolina. Like, now I want to remind everyone, we are at the border of Virginia. We are about 20 minutes away from Virginia. So not only are there cops from Virginia, not only are there cops from the borders of Virginia, there are cops from North Carolina, from the border of South Carolina, bust in, outside agitators being bussed into my small town of 18,000 people, outside agitators being bussed in with guns, with tanks, with trucks, with big sticks, with tear gas, with chemical weapons. Outside agitators are being bussed into my small community. Now, I want to, again, strip away all the logic that you might have in your brain behind authority. You need to be 100% against authority, not 99%, not 98%, right? We live in the United States of America in the year 2021. You don't need to do that bullshit where it's like, hypothetically, if we had good law enforcement, then I'm right there with you, brother, right? That's not the world we live in. You need to get your shit together. You need to get your head out of your asshole, because when you do that kind of stuff in this moment, what happens is people misunderstand that as you're defending police, right? Now, I don't, I'm not here to be that person that tells you how to think, right? And you can make your own conclusions. But again, I want to remind everyone of the footage that Ben Crump showed of them on the back of a pickup truck with their AR-15s fully loaded to try to arrest someone with no history of violence, with no history of weapons, with no history of criminal behavior. What were they there to arrest him for? Right, drugs. Random substances that we've decided to make criminal. Would you go into a neighborhood with people with AR-15s on the back of a pickup truck to arrest someone for coffee? If someone was making some morning brew at their house with the intent to sell, maybe? Would you go in there and try to kill them for coffee? What about alcohol? Let's say someone's got some, some primo shit at their house and they're having a party. But in order to get in that party, you need to pay an entrance fee. So they are selling alcohol. Would you go in there with a truck full of gangsters with machine guns to try to kill them because they were selling alcohol? If the answer to that question is no, and you have any different answer to the question about cocaine or marijuana, then I'm sorry. Shut the fuck up. You're garbage. You need to go to therapy, and I hope you get help soon, because you are one dumb motherfucker. You have betrayed your fellow human. You have decided to give away your own humanity, and I'm talking to all the cops out there. I'm talking to all the Trumpers. I'm talking about all these motherfuckers. You have decided to take the gift of humanity, the precious, wonderful gift of human consciousness. You've decided to waste that, flush it down the drain for nothing. You don't get anything out of it. At least the cop is getting paid. Trumper on Facebook, you get nothing. You are willing to sacrifice your brother, your sister, your fellow human for nothing. Just so your aunt on Facebook likes your post and you get that little, oh, my auntie liked my post on Facebook. Just for that small dopamine hit. That's what you're willing to sell down your entire species. I'm talking about the same people that don't believe in climate change. You are willing to sell your entire species to propagate the extinction of all of humanity. You're willing to do for a couple likes on Facebook. Right? And again, I want to remind everyone, these cops left around this point, I believe. They stood there. And again, they arrested these people, I believe. This is when they started arresting people, I believe. Yes. So they started arresting people, and then shortly afterward they leave. Now again, you're seeing. Now I showed in some of my footage is they've got these big white trucks, right? And they were lining them up over here, in the back, as you can see. There's a bunch of trucks back there. I don't know. I didn't get the greatest footage, but I just recorded a video to send it to people. And so, right, so they got these big ass trucks and they just start bringing people away, in trucks, right? And then they start leaving, right? They just stand here menacingly up until about 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock.
Every last one of y'all hoes.
And then they leave. So if there is a curfew again tonight, I might stay out. Just because I feel like it's less of a concern. Or it could be more of a concern. Right? But they stand here, and again, look at this bitch. Right? And I hate to be this person. Look at this fucking bitch. Now, I was watching the live feed last night. Right? I was watching the live feed last night, and it was this, I'm sorry, man. Imagine being this human. I'm just right? I know, right? This is where I'm at right now. You are dedicating the human consciousness. Now, I want to remind everyone, right? By the way, I hear a lot of sirens outside. Either shit's going down, right outside my house, or, I don't know. Or another possible option. But imagine, right? Imagine being this fucking bitch. This disgusting, gutter, fucking sewage, fucking fueled, fucking disgusting loser, whore, bitch. And I hate to use that kind of language on a woman like that. Except I don't, because that's not a woman. That's a police officer. There is no such thing as a black cop. There is no such thing as a woman cop. There are cops. You trade in whatever fucking garbage for the blue shield. That's my fucking shit right there. Okay? I don't give a fuck, right, what kind of fucking cop you want to pretend to be. Oh, I'm this kind of cop. I'm that. No. Bitch motherfucker, you're a cop, right? And so, like, I just want to say, like, she's looking really nervous and that, right? And so I was like getting, like, you know, hyped up over that last night.
Go!
And then they just start leaving. And then they just left. Oh, look at that. And then everyone's making fun of them. There's a great thing where the protesters start screaming, move back, as they're moving back, which is amazing. There you go.
Move back! Move back! Move back!
So they left. And then now at this point, because the police were rioting and looting through the streets, they were just, again, the police. We had a military occupation of our city, a small city, right? We had military rioting and looting through our city, stealing not just things, not just property, but people. We had gangsters, violent, white supremacist gangsters coming, bust in from 200 to 300 miles away, bust in white supremacist terrorists rioting in our streets and stealing citizens that live here, stealing civilians of this city, stealing them, looting them, throwing them into unmarked vans and driving off. We don't know where they are. We're trying to figure out where they are, right? And so because the police were rioting and looting through our city, right, traffic was so backed up, I didn't get home until like midnight. And so, yeah. And again, like I wanted to say I was down the street when this whole thing was happening. There were parts where like, we heard gunshots. I don't know if that was like, you know, because we were down the street in downtown Elizabeth City, or if that was like, you know, something that was happening down there. But when we had the stream open, we didn't hear any gunshots on the stream. So I don't know. But it was freaking me the fuck out. We saw a bunch of like cop cars, sheriff's cars, like these unmarked vans, like just and they were speeding down the road. Like, you know, we have this is a residential neighborhood, right? We have like a speed limit of like 20 miles per hour. These cars, I shit you not, were at least doing like 70, 80 miles per hour down this small residential street. And there were like caravans of these fucking cop cars. There were caravans of those like fucking unmarked vans. And we don't know what they were doing with them. We have no idea. We don't know if they snatched people on the way home. We don't know if they dispersed so that other people would disperse and that they could snatch people on the way home. We don't know. We have no idea. And so, you know, as far as I'm concerned, we're still figuring that out. And so, again, I'm going to go out there. I will probably, if there is a curfew again, I'm going to be honest, I will probably be out there. We'll see, though. Again, like, I really don't want to get arrested as a trans person. Like, getting arrested as a trans person in a southern state, I mean, like, goddamn, right? Like, that's not a situation you want to be in. That's not a situation I want to be in, right? So, like, I'm going to be very careful not to get arrested. Right? Because, like, just bear with me. I don't want to be in that fucking situation. Please understand. And so, if there is, like, a sign that I might get arrested, I might dip. But, I will probably just have my camera out and try to, like, you know, do the whole press thing, as much as possible. And see if, you know, like, and also back up. I'm not gonna, like, I'm not gonna sit down. I'm not gonna do any of that shit. But I will probably cover more after the curfew tonight. And so I'll keep that in mind. And, yeah, so that's what happened day 7. It took 7 days until outside agitators, white supremacist terrorists, got bussed in 200, 300, 400 miles away. Bust in white supremacists with guns that came to my city of 18,000 people, my city, to riot and loot in the streets. That's what they did. There is no fucking around with the facts on this one. There is no there is no whoa, there is no there is no boo. Go take your bullshit, shove it up your ass, and, you know, come for all I care. Because, like, Jesus Christ, you need something going on. Anyway, so that's that. That's day 7 of the Andrew Brown protests. Yeah, so a little it's getting a little bit hectic down here. It's getting a little bit crazy, let me tell you. Yo, okay, so I don't want to bully Bodan here. But like Bodan, like I'm gonna be honest right now, and I want like, you know, I know you're listening and reading other people's chat messages and all that. Like I'm gonna be honest, man. Like what you're saying right now, what you're saying is the exact myth. And again, what you're saying is wrong and it's not true, but it is the exact myth that what you're saying perpetuates that allows people like Andrew Brown to be murdered on international television right down the street from me. They treated Andrew Brown, someone whose entire family says he's a jokester, he's a comedian, someone who's never had a gun in his life, someone who's never been violent, someone who's barely ever been in a street fight, right? They went to his house on the back of a pickup truck with machine guns ready to kill him, and they shot him in the back of the head because the way these people viewed people like Andrew is, oh, this guy did drugs, therefore he's a crazy, violent psychopath and he could come out guns blazing at any point. Someone with no history of violence, someone with no history of criminality outside of using drugs, right, was treated like a fucking, like someone with a nuclear weapon. They went in there and treated that like that innocent soul, the father of 7 people or 10. I've heard different. I'm not entirely sure. They treated him like he was Osama bin Laden. Why? Because he did drugs at some point in his life. Not at that point. They searched his house. He had no drugs on him. He wasn't actively using drugs. But because he used drugs at some point in his life, police treated him like motherfucking Osama bin Laden. And you need to understand, Bodan, I'm talking to you, Bodan. I'm not talking to an ethereal person. I'm talking to you, Bodan. You need to understand, yes, can drugs be harmful to your health? Absolutely. Is that an excuse for police to roll up and assassinate someone in my neighborhood? No. And when you make drugs illegal, that's how police treat them. Police don't look at the morality. They look at the legality. That's what they look at. Now again, all right, is heroin bad and it makes people's whatever the fuck and you want people to be rehabilitated? Okay, sure. Now, I am not going to make the conclusion that heroin is bad, but there are people that are addicted to heroin and it is a negative impact on their life. How does sending them to jail and criminalizing that behavior help them? It does not. Now, if you were to say legalize all drugs, right? Bodan, stay with me. Legalize all drugs. However, right, let's say the only place to get a drug is from, now, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with this, but I'm postulating an alternative for you. Let's say the only way you can get heroin is from, let's say, the government. So you go to the government's like outpost or whatever, they got a store, right? A state-owned store, right? And they sell you heroin, or they give it to you for free, right? Because you are addicted both physically and psychologically. You need to have heroin, you need to have something in your system in order to, you know, feel at peace in some capacity, right? Now let's say, right, this is a huge negative impact on your life, right? At this state-sponsored heroin dispensary, you have the option, right? They will monitor you. They will make sure your health is okay, right? And if you need rehabilitation, if you need services, if you need withdrawal help, they will help you. Now, imagine that compared to the situation with Andrew Brown, where they had a pickup truck full of people with machine guns ready to treat that person like a violent criminal, shooting him in the head. That is what happens when drugs are illegal. That is what happens when drugs are illegal. So yes, should we fix cops' behavior? Absolutely. But the fastest way to have that impact of making sure the police don't shoot people like Andrew Brown in the head, people like me in the head, Bodan, if police knew the kind of drugs I did, right, and they came to arrest me over it, they would do it in a very similar fashion probably to the fashion that they did to Andrew. Do you want police to shoot me in the back of the head? Do you want me to die bleeding out on the ground in a school zone? This happened literally, and again, I want to emphasize, this happened not on my street, but down my street. Like, you go down my street, and that's where the gunshots were, right? Like, Now, and I want to be very clear here. Am I endorsing drug use for everybody? No. I am not endorsing drug use for everybody. I am saying that people exist that are addicted to substances. Look at sugar. Should we drive around in trucks with machine guns trying to fucking arrest and kill people for eating sugar? Because they had too many boxes of Frosted Flakes in their cupboard? Should we run around with trucks and machine guns, gunning them down in the streets in front of elementary schools, in front of children? No, because that shit is fucking ridiculous. And we have to treat all substances the same, right? Now, again, is a substance like heroin dangerous? Is it potentially harmful to your health? Absolutely, right? But you also have to understand there are people that understand the health risks and the effects, right? And they are fully functional drug users, right? Now, again, you might disagree that a human being can be fully functional and use drugs recreationally, right? You have a different definition of fully functional. There are college professors that use heroin, as people are mentioning in the chat room, right? Like, there are all kinds of people. There are people, right? Like, you know, look at Wall Street, for example. Look at, like, rich people, for example. Look at Donald Trump, the former president of the United States. He would do, like, fucking 38 drugs a day. He would have a specialized, this was reported, a specialized drug cocktail given to him every couple of hours. Should Donald Trump have been gunned down in a school zone? Well, that's a bad way to ask that question. But my point is, when drugs are illegal, what only happens is the poor suffer. And they suffer greatly. They suffer greatly. Okay? The rich don't suffer. And the drugs don't go anywhere. The drugs, that's the thing you understand. When drugs are made illegal, they don't go anywhere. This is not Sim City, where you can click a button and boops, all of a sudden, this whole thing is gone. No, this is the real world. The real world. Drugs exist. Alcohol is legal. Bodan, do you want your child to be an alcoholic? Alcohol is legal. Alcohol is legal, Bodan. What don't you understand? Alcohol is legal. You just dumb fucked your own argument. Everything you said up until this point, Bodan, is dumb because of what you just said. Do you want your child to be an alcoholic or drug addict? Unless you're advocating for alcohol to be illegal. Are you advocating for caffeine to be illegal? Should soda be illegal? Because unless, like, if your argument is if it has damaging to your health, should meat be illegal? Now, I personally think that some forms of food restriction is okay. I personally do think, genuinely, that there should be some control over the way that we distribute things like high fructose corn syrup. I think that there should be some control in how we produce things like meat, for example, that lead to a lot of diseases. That's what I think, right? But would I say that someone who eats a burger should be, like, arrested and sent to jail and treated as a criminal or a gangster? No. But that's what you are saying, Bodan. When you are saying that you want this to be illegal, right? You want these people that use these drugs to be treated like Osama bin Laden. Like, you want people with trucks and machine guns to go in there and kill them. When you say that you want drugs to be illegal, that is what you are saying. Because, yes, you need to understand, yes, cops are bad. Yes, cops act like this. So why give cops more authority to act like this? What is more likely to occur? That we make small changes to our drug laws, or that we overthrow the global fascist police state that you live in, that I live in, that fucking Felix Cornelius in France lives in, that all these motherfuckers live in, right? What is more likely? That we are going to overthrow the global fascist police state, or that we can make some small adjustments to what they treat as criminal behavior. Now, that is why I'm an advocate to legalize all drugs. And now also, again, earlier, you put cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, and LSD in the same category. Those drugs are not in any capacity in similar categories. And I want you to understand that when you group together drugs like cocaine and methamphetamine, you are again doing your argument a disservice, right? By looking dumb and uneducated, which you are on that subject. Now, again, if I were to argue about, whether or not the Yankees should have traded whoever the fuck they traded last year, you know what? I'd look like a fool because I don't know what the fuck the Yankees are doing. I don't follow baseball, right? So when you treat cocaine and LSD or methamphetamine and LSD like they're the same thing, or they're similar, even remotely similar, what that proves to me is you don't even understand what these drugs are. You have no idea what they are, and you're listening to propaganda that is created to make you afraid. Now, again, if you don't want to try drugs, that's great. If you have someone you care about and you don't want them to try drugs, that's great. But it's easier to do that if it's illegal and regulated properly so that there are channels for people to be rehabilitated if they choose to do so. And that is what legalized drugs means, is that there is help that doesn't involve going to prison. No one should be sent to prison for drug use. No one should be shot dead in front of an elementary school for drug use. And so I know that I spent a long time on this, right? Because I want you to understand, Bodan, I'm a drug user. I'm telling you this right now, right? Like, what you are advocating for is my death. When you say that you want these drugs to be illegal and to make, more restrictions on them, you are advocating for my death. That's what I need you to understand, right? Like, I just really need you to get that through your head, right? I don't want to die. People like Andrew don't want to die, right? People like Andrew's kids don't want their father to die because they might have done drugs. Imagine, again, you might have done drugs 20 years ago. Now, right, you've got 10 kids, right? You're trying to get to work and cops all of a sudden want to kill you because you did drugs 20 years ago? What? And again, this isn't like a Minecraft server where you can just use a mod to get rid of all bedrock and then just go you can't use a mod to get rid of all coal ore. This isn't like that. This is the real world. These drugs aren't going to stop existing. If the drugs stopped existing, they would have stopped existing after the Controlled Substances Act in the 1970s, right? Things like LSD, cocaine, methamphetamine, they would have disappeared after 1970 when the Controlled Substances Act happened. Guess what happened? They didn't. In fact, there's more drugs on the streets than there ever has been. Why? Because illegalizing and criminalizing this behavior does not work. And so I understand that you are coming from a place of you want to help people. I understand you don't want people to be hurt. I understand that. But what you need to say, if that's what your thought process is you don't want people to be hurt by drugs, you need to understand criminalizing drugs is not the answer. Now, if your main concern is that you want all drug users to be treated like dogs and cats, you want drug users to be treated like mice and like rats, if you don't view drug users as human and you don't care what happens to them, fine, advocate for drug use to be illegal. But if you care about the people that are using drugs, again, I'm a drug user. I'm not going to tell you which drugs I do use. I mean, you can pick that up via context clues, but I'm a drug user. In fact, I used drugs within the last 12 hours. 12 hours ago, I was using drugs. I'm just letting you know this. Literally 12 hours ago, not even a full 24 hours ago, I was knee deep in some motherfucking drugs. I'm telling you this right now, right? Should I be shot dead in the street? No. You know what I mean? I do not associate drugs with police behavior. Well, Bodan, we are on day 7 of protests in my city because someone down the street from me was shot and killed, and their excuse was because they used drugs, right? So if you want to have a conversation about drug use, right, and how to fix people's problems on a personal level, I'm okay with that. But this is not the time for that conversation. And using terms like illegal, right, that is not the answer. Illegality, you can't say something should be illegal and then say, I'm not talking about the police. When you say something is illegal, that is involving the police. If driving on the wrong side of the road is illegal, how do you stop someone from doing that? The police. You protest 7 days a week or you're a lazy bitch. You might want to take a break just for your tolerance sake. Here's the thing. I am in a historic moment, right? Again, a week ago, this is going to be day 8 today, is going to be day 8. A week ago, none of y'all knew where I lived, right? I want to be very clear about what's happened in the last week. A week has gone by. This is a historic event, right? And I want to personally experience this historic event in a way that I choose to experience that historic event. And so I'm going to do some drugs. I don't know what to tell you. I will say I took 2 days off. Yesterday, I'm now at the point where I've taken 0 days off. But I did take 2 days off and it was worth it. But, you know, again, I want to remind everyone, I don't know. Right? Like, I don't know what's going on. I have no motherfucking idea what's going on. Like, last night, the reason why I did not stay out past curfew is because I didn't know what the police would do. Now, after seeing what the police would do, my calculation is slightly different. Now, again, they could come back and that could have been a fake out. And, like, tonight they fuck people over. That's possible. I can run, and I want y'all to understand, I can run. I you know, like, if you were to talk to me last year, no, I couldn't have run. I've lost 100 pounds in the last year. You know what I mean? Like, I have eaten a lot healthier in the last year, right? Like, I can run. I practiced running already, and I want y'all to know this. I practiced running already. I can run. If shit goes down, I can run. And so, like, I am willing to probably stay out a little bit later tonight. And so, like, I just want everyone to know that, like, we'll see what's going on. I'm not going to agitate police. It's not my role to be a police agitator. I do live here, right? But I'm not going to be responsible for police being agitated and then them taking that out on other people. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm not gonna go run into a fucking cop's face and scream fuck 12 and then run away like fucking like a cringer, and then that cop is gonna beat the shit out of like a black woman who is standing next to me. I'm not gonna be in that situation, right? So if I go there and it's past curfew and cops are out, I'm there to document. I'm there to, you know, support people. I'm not there to agitate. So I want to get that out of there. But yeah, so you know what? My father was an alcoholic, not even a drug addict, and I have a lot of unpleasant moments. I mean, hey, if you're listening, Daddy, I'm in the same position here, right? Like, I get it. My mom, right? My dad, they've had their fair share of doing some stuff that, you know, could have made my childhood a little bit better if they didn't. So I'm right there with you, Bodan. I get you. But I'm not going to say that they're terrible people. And I don't know about your dad. Your dad might be terrible. I'm not going to say that they're terrible people. I'm going to say that they're very problematic people, that they grew up in a very problematic time, and they did not handle stress very well, and that resulted in a situation where they made a lot of very bad mistakes when it came to raising me and it came to my childhood. I'm not going to say... And again, this goes with food, too. I was born and raised on fast food and ice cream, motherfucker. Right? Why do you think I lost 100 pounds in the last year? Well, I gained 100 pounds the year before, and I lost 100 pounds the year before that, and and the reason of that, of me having weight problems, is because my parents would feed me Burger King, McDonald's, and all that shit almost every single day, because my parents were split up, right? So whenever I'd go over to my dad's house, right, he would try to impress me. Oh, I'm going to give my kid Burger King and everything every day so that, you know, my kid will like me, right? And my mom, as soon as she would pick me up, would do the same thing, right? Obviously, as a kid, I'm like, I don't know that this food is going to kill me. I don't know that 20 years later I'm going to be fucked down the line. I'm a kid, right? So when my mom says, have you eaten dinner today? When she picks me up after the weekend's over, I say no, and we go home, and we drop by on fucking Mickey D's at the way home, right? So that's what I'm saying. That's how I was born. My parents made horrible decisions that have now created a situation where I'm going to be 25 years old, and I still have food addiction. I am still addicted to food. Now, do I think that my mom and dad are terrible people? No, I don't. Do I think that they made mistakes? Absolutely. But I want to be, very clear. I don't think that we should criminalize their behavior. That tweet you linked me is gone. Eminent Prof. Just throwing that out there. Looks like there's shit going on, though. I mean, like, I am down to talk about food addiction with anybody. And that's one of the reasons why, again, Bodan, one of the reasons why I do make my channel so heavily focused on, like, again, at this point, I've gotten well over 100 people that have sent me messages, like, either in the chat room, like in public or in private, that have said, like, I skipped the sugary cereal because of y'all's intervention. Y'all being me, right? I'm y'all. And, like, I've had people that say, I am eating more fiber and more protein and less sugar because of your streams and the information that you provided, right? And so, for me, the reason why I'm so obsessed, and again, even with alcohol, I will say I don't like alcohol. I could have gotten drunk last night. I chose not to. I got drunk several times over the last week, I will say. But, I chose not to specifically last night. Because if I don't want to do something, I won't do something. I don't consider myself addicted to any substance. I consider myself to be a recreational substance enjoyer. So, like, if there's a moment where there's a substance available to me and I'm not interested at that particular moment, I will decline. And there are people that are incapable of declining, right? But I want to treat my audience and I want to train my audience to be capable of declining, right? So, like, if your mother comes home and she got a dozen donuts from Dunkin' Donuts and says, hey, you want a couple? I want you to be able to say no, right? And that's the situation I want to be in. I want to be able to help people help themselves. And that's a much better way to combat drug use, I think, than bringing police on trucks with machine guns. I don't think being a drug addict is good. And I'm not saying, right, I'm not saying that being a drug addict is good. Being addicted to something is not good. Now I want to also spin this your way, Bodan. I am a trans woman. I take hormones. Those are drugs. I take hormones every day of my life. Those are drugs. My body does not naturally produce certain chemicals. Therefore, I take drugs so that my body is, convinced because of those drugs to produce certain chemicals. Right? So I am a drug addict. Based on that information alone, I am a drug addict. Does that make me a bad person? No. Right? And not all people's addictions are equally as bad. Right? So when someone it's not a binary whether or not you're addicted to something. Can someone have a substance use problem? Yes. Someone can eat too much sugar. And then develop diabetes. Right? And then not be able to walk as well. Right? And then, and that's a problem. Those are reactions to a sugar addiction that is out of control, right? Just like how someone can have an alcohol addiction that can be out of control, right? To the point where they start waking up in the gutter somewhere, to the point where they get into bar fights. There can be a point where that addiction becomes a problem. Now, me personally, when it comes to my relationship with drugs, I personally will think, now again, I also have my own biases. I personally think that I don't have a drug problem. That if I wanted to stop using drugs, I could at any point. But also, I could just do the drugs, and that would be way cooler, right? And I am not in a position where I am experiencing health effects or, anything like that, negative health effects because of my drug use. I have been in the past because of drug use and other, sugar use and abuse and alcohol abuse and all that kind of stuff. In the past, I have experienced negative problems in relation. I have been in a situation where I have spent my last, $100 on weed, for example. I have been in that situation, right? Is that a healthy situation to be in? Nope. Is that a good situation to be in? Nope. But it was a situation I was in. I made that decision at the time. I'm on the other end of it. Now, would I even say that that's a bad decision at the time? I would say no. Like, I had food. I was fine. I didn't need to spend money on anything else until I got more money. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll spend the last amount of my money on weed, and that'll make me forget about the next week until I get paid again. I've been there, right? People have been there. If you are experiencing a bad situation, let's say, you're experiencing grief. Let's say, a family member was just gunned down in the street in a school zone, and you want to smoke a little weed. If you want to get drink a little bit, you should be, you are an adult, right? You should be capable of doing so. You should be capable of moderating yourself, of controlling yourself. And not everyone has control problem or control over themselves. And some people do have problems with that. And that's why, again, we should not, and I know I'm being redundant here, but I'm trying to get this point across. And maybe I should segment this. I don't know. But my point here is involving police in people's personal addictions is not a good idea. If someone is eating too many Cheerios, if someone is eating too many Fruit Loops in the morning, if someone is having one too many bagels, should we bring police involved? If someone is having that 5th cup of coffee because they just can't get through the day without it, should we get the cops involved? Right? The recommended daily dose of caffeine intake should not be over like something around 4 or 5 cups of standard coffee. If someone has a 6th or 7th cup, should we get the cops involved? Well, they're over their limit. They're over their healthy daily intake. They might start having heart problems, right? They might experience anxiety. Should we get the cops involved? No. Right? But if you're that person's friend and that person starts jittering out, hug them. Have their back. Say it's all good. I've been there. It'll go. You'll be fine in an hour. Like that kind of stuff. We don't need the cops. If someone has a drug problem, we should be organizing a society so that there's people available to support those people that aren't police. And so that's my speech. That's my speech. I'm going to get the hell out of here because there's some actions going on in my town very soon, and I'm going to try to swing by and catch them. Bodan, I understand your position. I do understand your position, but I'm trying to tell you that criminalizing these things is not the answer. Right? I understand that, again, there are people with control problems and substance abuse problems, and I've had those people in my life. I have those people in my life that have those abuse problems, right? And I need you to understand that criminalizing that behavior is not the answer. And right, so if your goal is to treat these people like scumbags, then yes, criminalizing their behavior is the answer. Right? But if your goal is to help these people and to prevent people from getting addicted and to prevent people from having substance abuse problems, police are not the answer. And so and especially in America, and I'm sure down by where you live too, police aren't too great. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'm going to go do some drugs. Anyway, I'm going to go do some drugs. I'm going to go eat some food. And I'm going to go out to the streets. So I will see y'all very soon. I'll be posting regular updates on my Twitter. And I hope that y'all have a good day. And I also want to say this, and maybe I should be saying this more often, especially considering being arrested is a possibility. If you do want to help me in the immediate term, and I will be spending my money, my money, I obviously, right? I will be spending money on supplies. I will be spending money on medical equipment for myself and others. I will be spending money on drugs for myself and others, right? So I want this to be understood. If you want to support me right now, right, in this moment, right now. Now, again, Super Chats, JL, $10, thank you. I will not get that Super Chat until May 23rd, probably, right? And so by that time, who knows? I might have been serving my prison sentence by May 23rd. You know what I mean? So if y'all want to help me on the ground with this protest, with supplies, with food, with medical equipment, with drugs for my family, right? And, if you want to do that, Cash App as well, PayPal as well. You know, Patreon, I will get paid next week. So if you do want to do Patreon, I will get paid next week. But PayPal and Cash App, I get the money immediately, and I can use it immediately. And so I just wanted to say, if you do want to help me in this moment, you know, any money is appreciated. No money, I will still be okay with no money. And I will do the nail polish stream very soon. Once my feet are wrangled and mangled messes of disgusting, mosquito-bitten, calloused messes, I will definitely do the nail polish stream. I apologize for that delay. I saw that, Bob, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. I appreciate it. But again, thank you all for watching. I'm going to peace the fuck out. I'm going to edit these clips, and I'm going to get the hell out of there. I'm going to go into the streets, and so I will see you all very soon. If anyone has questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to let me know. And stay tuned, and go watch Status Quo's live coverage. Go check out my Twitter for updates. Go in the Discord and talk about how great I am. And go to my PayPal and give me money. So that's the idea here. Thank you all. Y'all have a great one. I'll see you again tomorrow. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll be arrested. Who knows? Just, you know, just waiting for the music to turn on. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the you know the thing.
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a... Everybody comes in, your grandmother, your father, your mother, your brother. Everybody comes in, your grandmother, your... Everybody comes in, your grandmother. Everybody comes in, your grandmother, your...
No, seriously, hot sauce. I've been eating a lot of hot sauce, a lot of raw peppers and hot sauce.
8 months after his alleged meeting with the Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese. A real beautiful company. 8 months after. The world is actually a small piece of the universe, right? And then they have cans of soup. Soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent. This is soup from my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground, and the anarchists take it and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick because it's got force. It's the perfect size. It's like made perfect. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup from my family. And then the media says, this is just soup. These people are very, very innocent. They're innocent people.
Unbelievable. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.